not to be confused with all the many MySpace posers out there.
Hey guys, my name is James Walsh, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. I want to thank you for finding us. Please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. And if you get the chance on this video, click the like button. If you do, it'll turn blue. Check it out. Also, check out WrestlingEpicenter.com for all this great content available in MP3 format, our online store that'll keep us going free and clear, daily news updates, as well as all the information from the history of professional wrestling you could possibly ever want. Check out WrestlingEpicenter.com online right now. Without any delay, let's get to your interview here on the Wrestling Epicenter.
And joining us in just a moment will be Patrick Kelly, I believe, on the line with us right now. Do we have Joy Giovanni? Joy, is this you?
Yes, you have me.
Hey, Joy, it's good to talk to you. We're kind of fluttering around like chickens with their heads cut off tonight. Just barely made it in the studio in time, but it's great to talk to you. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well. You guys are hard to get a hold of. I tried to call them a little bit earlier. Yeah.
They won't let us take any calls until the show actually is on air. Let me introduce my co-hosts, first of all. First of all is Mr. Nick Knoll. Nick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, and nice to hear from you, Joy.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
I'm good.
And also with us is Mr. Patrick Kelly from the great state of Maryland.
Howdy, how y'all doing tonight?
All right. And Joy Giovanni is on the line with us. And Joy, we just saw you the other day on WrestleMania, so how did you enjoy being under the lights of the WWE once again?
I loved it. It was so much fun, and it's one of those things that when you're there in the daytime and you're in the ring and kind of stretching out, you look around and you see all the empty seats, and you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of seats. When you actually walk out, during the show and you see all the seats filled, it's a whole other experience. It's great.
Now, one thing I have to ask you about is that they didn't give any of you girls entrances for the Battle Royal. Why was that, and were you disappointed that they didn't give you entrances?
I know, right? I really didn't know that's the way it was going to be until sometime during the day. They said, okay, you guys are going to walk out to Kid Rock playing his song, and that was really cool because I'm a fan of his, so I was like, okay, that's great. I, for whatever reason, thought that they were going to announce us kind of as we were coming down, but that didn't happen. I got like an insane amount of text messages after the match, like, what the heck happened? And so, yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. I had no idea.
It seemed like a massive cluster, man. It seemed like a massive cluster because even the announcers, when somebody would get eliminated, they'd be like, oh, well, she's out. And we're like,
that was somebody.
Who's she? Yeah, tell us who that is.
That's a lot of girls, though. 25 divas that's a lot. Because if you think about it, even if they were to do a Battle Royal just on one show or the other, they're really only dealing with, 10 girls at the most. So 25 is a lot to keep track of, especially because some of us haven't been there for a little while. And
well, I would have thought that, I know we've kind of touched on it, but I would have thought that somebody like yourself, like Tammy, Sonny, or whoever actually made appearances, Jackie Haas, the ones who were more surprises, I would have thought would have gotten their own little, they don't have to play their theme song all the way down to the aisle and all that, but maybe just here's a nod of, oh, here comes Joy Giovanni, and you get the pop because people haven't seen you in a few years.
Yeah, I kind of thought we didn't really talk about it ahead of time. They didn't really express to us that that's the way it was going to be, but I just, for whatever reason, it kind of, like you, assumed that that's how it would be, but it wasn't. But, I was happy to be there nonetheless, and it was a great time. So, I even have people kind of messaging me later, did I just see you at WrestleMania? Because they didn't formally announce ahead of time that I was going to be there. So I kind of took the cue from them and thought, okay, well, if they're not going to announce that I'm going to be there, then probably I'm not supposed to. So I had some friends even messaging me like, I think I just saw you at WrestleMania. Like, what happened?
Yeah, that's kind of how it went down, and it was certainly an interesting evening. But well, we were glad to see you back on there. Now, what have you been doing since you left the WWE the first time out?
Well, right after my release, I did some work for G4, which is a video game network. A little bit of hosting for them, and they have an annual award show that I did some stuff at, and they are a really great network to work for, a lot of fun. So it's kind of like a bunch of adults who get to act like kids and play video games all day. So that was a lot of fun, and I did some smaller films and projects for a little while, and then I kind of took a couple years off and decided I wasn't so sure if I wanted to pursue the acting and modeling and all that. And then I moved to San Diego, so I'm down here in San Diego now. And then the whole Amy versus Joy thing came up, and got a call saying, you know, kind of, would you be interested in you know, putting together a match where you guys can actually have out the feud that started a few years back. And you know, LA is a small town for how big it is. It's still kind of small. There are small circles, and you kind of hear here and there, like, oh, you know, Amy was in the other day. She said that you're difficult to work with, or she said, you know, this or that about you. So it's kind of one of those things that was perpetual over the years and never kind of went away. So I said, sure, you know, let's put together a match and once and for all kind of see what's what.
Absolutely, and that sounds like a great idea. We actually have a couple questions about Amy Weber here. Let's jump right into those. What's going on with this match? Where can fans check out this match, and basically what can we expect from it?
Well, you can see the trailer for it at my website if you want to, which is joygiovanni.net, or you can go to the dedicated website, which is amyversejoy.com, and that's actually got the trailer, and I think there are different pictures up every day. The kind of cool thing about it is that they have it set at a really decent price. It gets $9.98, and you get, if you want to apply that purchase for $5 more, you can get the DVD, and then it comes with a whole different section of photo shoots and just some DVD extras that come with that. What's actually on the DVD is not only the match, it's footage of both of us training. I trained mostly in San Diego at a boxing gym where I do boxing and Muay Thai regularly anyway. And she trained with MMA superstar Maverick. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's like insane. Yeah, he's really good. I saw him fight years ago, like 7 or 8 years ago, and he's just, I mean, he's a killer. So she trained with him, so it's footage of both of us training, and then I did a little bit with Daniel Puder, who, I don't know if you remember him, he did the Tough Enough Season 1, and then he's an MMA guy too. And there's some also sexy extra footage of kind of behind the scenes, not before scene footage of both of us at different photo shoots, and then there are also some interview segments. So, you know, kind of like a question and answer where we were asked questions and answered them, you know, interview.
So you basically, if you buy the DVD for $5 extra, you're getting a whole lot more than just the match.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole thing is much more than just the match, just because it's, I mean, a match is one thing, but I think all the extras make it just a little bit more interesting. I know the video on demand version is almost an hour long, so I think the DVD is just a little bit longer, and that's the one that comes with all the bonus photo gallery and all that stuff. And I think actually the company that produced it is Big Vision Entertainment, and they also put some bonus matches on the end of the DVD. I'm not sure exactly what those are, but they do a lot of wrestling promotions, so you get a couple little bonus matches on there.
Excellent, excellent. Actually, before we started doing the interview, my co-host Patrick Kelly wanted to ask you about one of the things that happened during the feud between yourself and Amy Weber. Patrick, do you want to go to that one?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, we were just talking about this off the air. You did a segment backstage on SmackDown, I believe it was, and you were with Kurt Angle, and he walked in on you in the shower. It was kind of a funny segment. I was just wondering, what was your opinion of that whole deal there?
I actually had a lot of fun doing that. What happened was that I was that night working as the guest bell ringer, and you know Carlito, how he is. He came out and wanted me to sign a petition or something, and my whole thing was like, okay, well, let me read it first and see what I'm signing. He got all, you know, Carlito curving cool attitude on me and kind of spit apple on me, so I obviously had to go back and shower all that nastiness off of me. And at some point while I was out in the arena, Amy kind of switched the names on the dressing room doors, and I'm sure she hit on Kurt in some way and said, hey, you know, come to my locker room and whatever. So that's kind of how the mix-up happened, where he ended up walking on me when I was in the shower, and it was a lot of fun. It was different, running through the, you know, bowels of the arena kind of in a towel and nothing else, and you know, of course, the show saved the day as always, and kind of kicked the snot out of Kurt after that. So
At
How'd
any
you
point
like working with Big Show? Oh, I'm sorry. How'd you like working with Big Show? Yeah.
I know he's a heel right now.
Go
but
for it.
I mean, I think it's one of those things where he's a big guy, and I'm sure he's got a big temper. And if you get on his bad side, then watch out. But he was always really sweet to me, and we got along really well. And he kind of was a little bit overprotective of me at times, and kind of, you're not going out, like go to sleep type of thing. But he's a sweetheart. He's actually really intelligent and well-spoken and a really great actor. I've seen him do some other things, some kind of side projects, and he's really talented. So I always like show.
He actually stole the show on Saturday Night Live years ago with The Rock, which is very, very funny.
I remember that. Yeah, he's just an all-around talented guy. He's, obviously the first thing you notice when you see him is the size, but there's a lot more to him than that. So.
Now,
let me ask you a lot of heat, but.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you get involved in this crazy business in the first place? I know you tried out for the Diva Search, but what made you decide, this wrestling thing is what I want to give a try?
You know what? I was a big fan of wrestling. Probably, I want to say late '80s, during Hulk Hogan and Brutus Barber Beefcake and Randy Savage and all those superstars that are
absolutely.
not
That's
around
my era too.
today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean those guys were amazing. So I was a huge fan as a kid, and kind of as I got older and grew up, did the modeling and acting thing in LA some, and then I was working with an agent who said, they're having this huge casting, and kind of sent like every girl that he had to go to this casting. So there was like 500 of us or something in this ballroom at I think it was the Ritz-Carlton by the airport in LA, which, so it was nice hanging out there all day, but kind of like one of those all-day things. And I was like, really? Are you sure? I don't know about this audition. I don't know if it's necessarily like the right, because you think of like Glow that used to be on Saturday mornings after your cartoons. And you're like, I don't really know if I'm the right girl for that. So they ended up actually asking me to go to the New York casting special, which I think is when they put it down to 25, and then I made it in the top 10 somehow, which kind of was a shock to me. It wasn't one of those things where they told us ahead of time, like, okay, you 10 are going. It was all completely off the cuff. So I was really excited to be a part of it, but it was just something we had no idea what to expect. Even as we were going out each week into the arena, I would say probably 8 times out of 10 they didn't tell us ahead of time what we were doing, like at all. They'd call us kind of a couple days before and say, okay, you guys need to bring a bikini and like a club outfit and workout gear. That's it. Like, you're like, okay, well, I think the girls in the years after us had a little bit of an easier time because they sort of could see what to expect a little bit. Unfortunately,
now,
didn't get to plan it out very much.
Were you still in it when they did the thing with Kamala and they had him jump out at you guys?
Yes, I think that was the first week.
Now, did you? I hate to offend you because I'm not being a jerk because I know you watched in the late '80s, but did you know who he was when he jumped down at you, or was it like
so terrible? No, I had no idea. I know it's really bad. I don't remember him. I don't know why. I didn't remember him at the time, and I felt really bad about it after. It's one of those things that you're like, I know I'm supposed to know this, but that was complete shock. And we were standing kind of outside the door as each girl went in, and all you could hear was you could hear a curtain opening, and then a girl like kind of screaming, and we're all out there like, okay, what the heck are they having us do in there? So, yeah, I know that's really bad. I didn't remember him.
Now,
the big story that was.
Go ahead, Pat.
Oh, sorry. The big story that was going on throughout the original Diva Search was how it seemed like all the girls just hated Carmella. Was there a reason for that, or what was the deal with Carmella behind the scenes that we didn't see?
Yeah, I'm sure that she has friends that adore her, and they could say lots of nice things about her. My personal experience with her was just not very good. She kind of just didn't take the whole thing seriously, and for all of us, it was a big deal. And we were like actually trying to win it, and put our all out there and plan ahead, like what we're gonna wear and all this stuff. And she just kind of really didn't seem to care very much about the whole thing, and Backstage was oftentimes kind of making fun of the wrestlers and their gear, their ring gear, like their gimmicks and what they wore, which is really not, I mean, if you're trying to be a part of a company, you probably don't want to make fun of the top talent behind their back. It's just not Not a good idea. Yeah,
Right.
not so much. Just stuff like that, and then I mean, just other little disrespectful things. They had changed the policy at the time, and everyone was supposed to travel in business casual attire. And the Diva Search girls were told that we didn't have to, that it would be optional for us. But we just thought, you know, out of respect, of course, that's what we should do. And she was the only girl who chose not to do that she shouldn't have to do that. So little things like that.
Now that's interesting. Now, from watching it from our perspective, and tell me if we're wrong here, it almost seemed like it was swayed in which they wanted her to win. Because every week she'd get booed by the crowd. You guys hated her, and yet she always stayed in until the very end, which we all just expected. You know, we expected her to beat Christy, even though Christy was clearly the more popular.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the crazy thing is that I always say that from day one when we were at that first Ritz-Carlton audition, I saw Christy and I was like, oh, this girl's going to win the whole thing. I mean, just her personality was so over the top and she's so energetic. I think she was the perfect one to win the entire time. But I don't know why they kept her on so long. It kind of was one of those things where you're like, really? Is this girl supposed to win the whole thing? Or are we, you know, but it was never put to us to where, you know, okay, this is how it's going to be. She's going to win. We just all were like, okay, well, whatever. I know a lot of the talent that was there didn't necessarily like her either. And, you know, there's a good chance that she was maybe supposed to win, and then when they saw her not really have any presence or not be over with the fans at all and not be able to talk on the mic, they were like, well, you know, really, we can only do
personality of a stump.
Well, you know. So I have no idea. There's no proof that it was not by the votes, but I mean the whole thing that we just kept hearing was, well, she's really popular. She did Playboy, so we were like, all right, whatever.
Well, even though you didn't win, you still got a WWE contract. Were you guys aware that, you know, the top 5 or what have you were still going to end up with contracts, or was it kind of a per case basis?
I think it was kind of case by case, because I know that some of the girls that were let go even really early in the Diva Search, like Michelle McCool was she was one of the first ones gone, I think, and she, you know, she's still there. So I think it was kind of, they judged case by case by maybe what they thought you could do, or if fans liked you. You know, who knows how they make their decisions. But I was really happy. It's one of those things where they kind of said, you know, would I be interested at a later date possibly coming back? And I said, yeah, sure, you know, call me and let me know what you guys want to do. And luckily they did. So I had a lot of fun. I really liked doing it.
Excellent.
Well,
now, go ahead, Nick.
after you got hired, you actually had a situation where you had to kiss Big Show on screen. What were kind of your memories of having to do that, and were you comfortable with it?
It was kind of awkward. We didn't know each other at that point. Yeah, that was like I wanted to say like my second day on the show or something. So we really, and I wasn't on the road, so I'd met him like once before. I didn't know the guy, and you know, it probably wouldn't be awkward now, but back then I didn't really know him, and so it was a little bit, you know, I was kind of game for whatever they threw at me. You know, they'd say, okay, do you mind, you know, we want you to kiss Joe. And I'd be like, okay. And I'd be like, okay, you're going to get kidnapped and locked in the trunk. And I'd be like, okay. So I was game for whatever, but it was a little awkward. And from what I hear watching it was a little bit awkward, too.
How far did they have to some of that stuff? I mean, like you said, the getting locked in a trunk and a few other things. Were you kind of told like week to week, or did they say, well, or did they give you kind of a general plan of where the storyline was going to go? Because you were probably a big part of Big Show's whole gimmick for about a month there, where you really were kind of the thing that was his driving point during his feud with JBL.
Yeah, you know what? I still, even to this day, when I watch the show, I don't think that they necessarily know week out kind of where it's going to go. But I don't know when they make those decisions. A lot of times I really didn't find out things ahead of time, and I don't know if it's because they're trying to keep leaks from, you know, getting out and blowing the storyline, or if they just really don't know far ahead. And I would think you can only schedule things kind of so far ahead just because you never can foresee injury and that kind of thing.
Now, there's always stories in the WWE, especially with the girls, and I know we're having Amy on in just a few moments, who probably had the worst of them of you guys, who had trouble getting along with the boys, and the boys would try to pull ribs on them and things of that nature. Did you have any trouble fitting in backstage, or was it pretty easy for you to slide into that role?
You know what? I've heard that, and even this last weekend at WrestleMania, we're talking to some of the girls. I heard their different little stories about the boys picking on them and stuff. But I luckily, for whatever reason, did not have any problems with anybody, and especially some of the biggest pranksters, the guys who are most well known kind of for pulling ribs on the girls. I kind of ended up making friends with those guys for whatever reason, and luckily, I don't know if it was show that kind of kept me out of harm's way or something else, but I really did get along with all the guys. I don't know how that happened. Just lucky.
Oh, even JBL?
You know what? During the time, I just stayed away from him because he was picking on me constantly on air, so off air definitely wanted to stay away from him. But I saw him this last weekend at WrestleMania and said hi to him. He was really nice to me, so I guess no hard feelings there.
Excellent, excellent. Who do you keep in contact with from the wrestling business?
I'm in contact with a lot more people after this last weekend, but I had lost touch with quite a few people.
Really?
Yeah, well, you know how it is. Time goes by and everyone does their own thing, and especially when you're involved in wrestling, it's sort of like its own little family because you travel together and you're together so much that you don't necessarily keep in touch with outside people very much. Mm-hmm. Who do I talk to? I talk to Tori. I chat with her once in a while, and Amy kind of talks about me, not necessarily to me. Let's see who else.
Who's that? Amy Weber or Amy Weber?
Yeah,
okay.
Amy Weber.
Yeah.
Melina, I talk with her once in a while. I talk with Ray once in a while. Talk to shows sometimes. I'm trying to think. But honestly, without looking through my phone list, I have no idea. One of my favorites is Howard Finkel, the announcer. I've always loved him. He's a sweetheart.
Sorry about that.
Wait, was it to see him get inducted to the Hall of Fame? We all still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're having a little bit of technical problems there. Okay, we're back on the air. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, I was just going to ask you, you just mentioned Howard Finkel. How great was it to see him get inducted to the Hall of Fame?
It was so great, and I actually, kind of the day before, was walking through the lobby of the hotel and saw him, and I, gave a big hug, and he said, "Oh my gosh, I just found out this morning that you were going to be here," and so even he didn't know I was going to be there, but, congratulations and all that stuff, and I'm so happy for him because he's been around for so many years, and I had no idea that he coined the phrase WrestleMania. I had no idea. That was kind of an interesting fun fact they gave us at the Hall of Fame, but I was really proud of him. Yeah, he
coined the phrase.
Yeah, who knew, right? And he
Absolutely.
really is a walking encyclopedia of information.
Oh yeah, and I mean, his voice is synonymous with wrestling for generations. I mean, even you coming from watching it as a kid, probably when I started watching in the late '80s. I mean, his voice was the voice of the WWF.
Right, yeah,
You
and then I saw him backstage in the Diva Search is when I originally connected with him, and I kind of didn't recognize him for whatever reason, and he was always really great to me. We would talk, and I guess he was doing talent relations at that time, and now he's doing .com, so which is good.
Yep.
I mean, good for him. I'm glad he's still around.
Well, let me ask you this question here.
Sure.
You were backstage at WrestleMania. Any chance we might see you make a return to the WWE, or is that going to be behind you?
That's a really good question. I have no idea. I haven't talked to them since then. We need to talk about a few things business-wise, but we'll see. It depends what they have in mind and if they have room for me. I know they have a lot of girls on the roster right now, so I'm not sure if they're even looking to add any divas or not. But it's a definite possibility. It just kind of depends on them, I guess. I was there for Mania and had a great time and got to reconnect with everyone, and I guess ball's in their court, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But I'm definitely open to the idea.
Now, Christy Hemme, the winner of your Diva Search, is actually now working for TNA. Any chance you would consider working for TNA, or is that not something you really even think about?
You know what? I'm open to that. I would absolutely consider it. I don't, besides Christy, who I just email with once in a while, don't really know anyone at TNA, so I haven't heard from them at all. But I'm open to ideas and suggestions.
Awesome, awesome. So the website is amyversusjoy.com?
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
amyversusjoy.com, and there's also another one, which is BVDVD, as in Big Vision DVD.com.
Absolutely. And they release a lot of wrestling DVDs, Big Vision does.
Yeah, I guess they're supposedly the second largest distributor of wrestling videos behind the WWE. So pretty big deal that they asked us to do the project.
Absolutely, and that has to be. Now, when we watch this match, what can we expect? Are we going to expect like a pillow fight kind of match, or are you guys really going to get down and dirty and let the fur fly on this one?
Definitely not a pillow fight kind of match, which is funny because that's what everyone keeps asking me. Yeah, it's funny. When you see the training footage, it kind of sets the tone to let you know that it's going to be a little bit more serious. I mean, I've been doing kickboxing for a little while now, and just recently, not that long ago, started doing Muay Thai, and I know that Amy was taking the match seriously. You know, it was one of those things where there was so much fluff when we got to do some cat fights and stuff, but we didn't ever actually get to do our match. They had a match scheduled for us, and Amy ended up leaving the company before that could take place. So it was kind of one of those, you know, we never got to prove ourselves in the ring and never got to show our stuff. We were definitely taking it seriously as a match, not just a fluff piece.
Excellent, excellent. All righty. Well, where can fans find out more about you personally, not just the DVD, but you personally?
Me personally can go to my website, which is www.joygiovanni.net, and there are links on my site to my eBay store and my MySpace, which is myspace.com/officialjoygiovanni, not to be confused with all the many MySpace posers out there.
Is there a lot of ones who want to be you?
Yeah, which is kind of a bummer because, I mean, I'm totally cool with all their fan sites and stuff, and I'm fine with that. But I just, for someone there was a girl out there for a while saying she was me and that, yeah, you know, she was re-signing with WWE, and it's one of those things where it's just, I hate the fans to have false information, and on top of it, to think it's coming directly from me. So.
Believe it or not, actually, Shawn Michaels and his wife just actually registered legitimately to MySpace. And they were on there for a while, and they got so many threats and telling them that they're fake, this, that, the other thing, that they said, you know what, it's not even worth it. I'm closing my account now because of you. So,
yeah,
I mean, they got chased off by the fans.
There is actually a site, I don't know if you guys know, it's like myspace.com/ I know what the initials stand for, so I got to say it to know. It's Wrestling Fans Against MySpace Poser. So what is that, WFAMP? The initials after, you know,
sounds like it, yep.
.com. Yeah, so, and they kind of have a list of who's who on everybody as far as the real MySpace sites and the fake MySpace sites. And so it's kind of, you know, it's, for me, whenever people email me there, because I try to answer all my MySpace emails as much as I can, and people will say, oh, are you the real Joy? I know some people get really irritated, and of course, and I just say, you know, I am, and definitely research for yourself and find out, because there are so many fakes out there. And it's funny because before I had my MySpace, it just went up, I think, over the summer. I had friends that, you know me personally on a daily basis call me and say, how come you're not friend accepting me at MySpace? And I was like, I don't have MySpace, so I finally had to put one up myself.
All right. Before we let you off the phone, and we appreciate you spending so much time with us, you mind if we close out with a little bit of a psychological exam, just giving you a couple word associations? If you have a one-word answer to the name of the one-word answer to the name, that's great. If you want to tell a story, that's great too.
Okay.
All right. The first name on the list. Let's go with well, your favorite, Carmella.
Ugh.
That might have said it all.
That's a great answer.
That's terrible. That's going to be a terrible soundbite. I don't know. I have 1,000 stories. I have 1,000 stories about everything. But my one regret in the whole Diva Search is probably that whole episode where we got to meet The Rock, which I have a little blog about that on my MySpace. I was absolutely shaking in my heels because I am such a fan of his and have the biggest crush on him. It's ridiculous. I wish I would have put the stupid pie in her face. And when I went backstage after the segment, all, like, the wrestlers were back there like, why didn't you put the pie in her face? And I just was like, I didn't know we were allowed to. I had asked specifically earlier that day, like, are we allowed to physically touch another girl? And they said, you can do what you want. However, should a girl claim that she got legitimately injured, you're on your own as to if she wants to come after you legally or whatever. So I was like, oh, great, I'm not touching her. So.
You should have sat on the cake. Apparently that's a big winner there.
Christy did that, right? That was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That was really cute.
That was funny. Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Oh man. How about next on the list is Candice Michelle.
I miss her, actually. I don't have one word answer for any of these. I'm terrible at this test, you guys.
Candice and
I were good friends for a while. I saw her this last weekend. She looks great. We were really good friends for a while, and then kind of drifted apart, and don't really talk anymore. But you know, I wish her all the best, and I'm always happy for her when I see her doing stuff, and I know she's got some other side projects going on. So good for her. She looks great.
How about Maria Kanellis?
You guys ask really hard ones. I don't know Maria very well. Let's see. I like her in the Diva Search. She's really friendly and outgoing, and then she was on the Raw brand and I was on SmackDown, so I didn't really get to. Maria was really happy, so she's like a really happy person.
See, we interviewed Coach.
Sorry.
We interviewed the coach shortly after. After the Diva Search, and he was saying that. You know, he liked all the girls, but that Maria is dumb as dishwater. I couldn't tell if he was selling a gimmick or if he was being serious.
You know what? Coach was always pretty honest. And we didn't really have contact with a lot of the talent there. They kind of kept us really segregated. So Coach was like our go-to. If we wanted to know anything or how things worked or what was going on, we kind of asked the coach. So during that Diva Search time, he probably would have had a better handle on all of our personalities than anyone else there.
All right. How about Sergeant Slaughter?
Oh, Sarge. I love Sarge. He used to, when I was there, he used to do the boards backstage. They would put up a board of the match order, kind of, so you knew what the lineup and what you were doing. And I saw him this last weekend at WrestleMania too, and he's doing well also. And you know what? I know he's a tough guy on the show, and the big bad Sarge. I think he's a softie at heart.
How about Randy Orton?
He's a big kid. I never had problems with Randy. It's funny because I know he's kind of one of the ones that is a little bit notorious for pulling ribs on people in general. But I didn't have a problem with Randy ever. He and I got along really well, and I don't know if you guys remember Mark Jindrak, who's now, from what I hear, in Mexico.
Mexico, yeah.
Yeah, they were best friends, and I was really good friends with Mark. So that could be one of the reasons why Randy and I got along so well. But, okay, I have a little funny story about Randy. I saw him a few weeks ago. I was backstage at the show in San Antonio, and I hadn't seen anyone in a few years, and I was kind of going around saying my hellos and saw Randy, and I was like, hey, Randy, and he kind of shined me on and totally didn't even say hi to me and looked the other way, and I was like, oh, man, I thought I was friends with Randy. And then I was sitting later talking to Show, and he's like, Randy, you remember Joy? And he's like, oh, my gosh, I'm so sorry. I saw you earlier, and I thought you were Amy, and that's why I didn't say hi to you.
Okay.
I know, right? So.
Oh, boy. And let's close out with a couple more, unless Patrick wants to throw any. Let's go with the Diva Search winner, Christy Hemme.
Fiery. I have one word for her. She's fiery and feisty. I like Christy. She's super energetic, and people during the Diva Search used to always ask me, is that her real personality? And she was actually like that all of the time. She'd come to my room like 6 in the morning, like, I'm ready. Are you awake? Let's go. I'm like, oh my gosh, Christy, but she definitely had the personality and the energy for the business.
I've got one for you. How about Stephanie McMahon?
Ooh, Stephanie. She is definitely a presence. When she walks in the room, just has a very commanding presence about her, but she's always really nice to me and personable, but very professional and business-like at the same time. I would imagine that growing up in that industry around so many guys, and especially because Vince is such a huge personality, you kind of have to have a bit of a commanding presence about you. But you know, I really admire her for standing so tall and so strong in such a man's business. She's pretty amazing.
I got one. How about Michelle McCool, someone that you debuted around the same time with?
Michelle McCool. She's really athletic. She is, you know, I don't know her that well. I didn't spend a lot of time with her, but she's a great athlete, and you know, I saw her this last weekend too. She looks really good, and she's, from what I understand, been really working hard as a wrestler. Because I know she came in not being a wrestler also, and I mean, look at her now. She's having matches and working really hard. So good for her. That's great.
All right, and I think we're just about done here, guys. So we're just going to let you off the phone after we ask this question. Other than the DVD and the website, which you have up there, and the MySpace, do you have any upcoming projects you'd like to discuss?
I don't. I have a few things in the works, but nothing solidified yet. And I'm kind of it sounds totally stupid, but I'm a big believer in, like, I don't want to jinx it.
Gotcha.
I have a few things that are kind of in the works and stirring around in the pot, but I don't want to jinx myself. But I always do updates on my site and do blogs on my MySpace, so as soon as I know, it'll be out there. I swear it. So.
And if it's out there on the MySpace page, we have a guy who does news for us named Jeff Sheridan, and I swear he must have a crush on every diva that's ever been in the wrestling business, because every time one of you guys posts a bulletin, bam, we got it on our site. So.
Oh, that's good.
Hey, well, it's good to keep up with that stuff, and yeah, we'll help promote you any way we can. And we can't thank you enough for stopping by.
Oh, well, thank you guys.
Well, thank you, and everybody should check out amyversusjoy.com and pick up the DVD, and Amy Weber will be joining us shortly. Thank you, Joy, for joining us again on the interactive interview. And, guys, we're going to go to commercial break, and we'll be back to talk a little bit about wrestling and wait for Amy Weber to join us. So thanks again, Joy, for joining us on the interactive interview here on WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Sure. This is Joy Giovanni, and you're listening to the interactive interview.